Hello, and welcome to this recorded talk and meditation. My name is Gilagius. I'm a trainer both at the Psychosynthesis Trust in London and at the Psychosynthesis Academy in Sweden, and I work as a psychotherapist in the Netherlands. And I appreciate you taking the time to reflect on some thoughts with me before we start a formal meditation. So I'd like to invite you to explore together the space between time and depth. In May 2022, I had the honor to guide a peace meditation of the European Psychosynthesis Association. The war in Ukraine has triggered a lot of people and filling them with worry, disgust, pain, other emotions and feelings. And there's a weekly peace meditation that can be joined by everyone. And I wanted to support this initiative, and I felt compelled to widen the scope at the same time, as the way we respond to the situation testifies of our capacity to generate a lot of will on the one hand, and as it seems from a psychosynthesis perspective, we also could be curious about the balance with love. So let me state my position first. As I was born and raised in a Western European country, this influences my worldview that I would refer to as Eurocentric. I identify as white, as male, and I have the privilege of having had a higher university education. So what I'm sharing today with you is not the truth, but one of the many thinkable perspectives on the current situation we live in. So firstly, as an introduction to the reflection on this meditation later, I'd like to remind us of what a contemporary and colleague of Asa Jolie, Carl Jung, wrote about the spirit of the times and the spirits of the depths that we all carry in us. As I think this bears relevance in the time that we live in, at least how I look at this. So as for this, I was inspired when I read Kay Tempest's book on connection. Tempest explores the human condition and connection, both relevant in these times of separation and conflict in many places, in many ways. Kay Tempest explains Jung's concepts as follows. In the Red Book, Jung explores at length this idea that a person is governed by two spirits, the spirit of the times and the spirit of the depths. This idea chimed me with so resolutely that it became a crucial part of my understanding of the human condition, Tempest writes. In reading of it, the spirit of the times is the part of you that is preoccupied with ordering your life into a narrative that you can stomach, the part of you that is concerned with current issues, current trends, and that's the pursuits of the day. The part of you that urges to achieve a particular set of goals. And then later on, they write, the spirit of the depths is the ancient part of you, the part of you that responds to the invisible world, the part that makes no sense and speaks in heavy symbols, your madness, your dreams, your visions. The spirit of the depths communicated through archetypes, masks, animal shapes. It is drawn to nature and wildness. The spirit of the depths is not satisfied when you obtain the things the spirit of the times told you what you needed in order to live a satisfying life. This is end of quoting Tempest. And then to quote Jung, following on to this, the spirit of the depths sees the soul as a living and self-existing being. And with this, he contradicts the spirit of this time for whom the soul is a thing dependent on man, which lets himself be judged and arranged, and whose circumference we can grasp. I had to accept what I had previously called my soul was not at all my soul, but a dead system. And quoting Jung here. So how I understand these readings is that from having more spirits that have different needs, that those needs do not always go so well together. One, the spirit of the times, might want to have clarity and uses judgment in order to feel safe. And another mind, the spirit of the depth, is curious, it's open, it wants to be exploring and tries to understand the world in which it lives and to connect to that world, be it not always in the way that we can understand with our rational mind in the moment or ever at all. So I'd like to bring this non-dualistic approach in, as it is one of the principles, as we can say, of psychosynthesis as a philosophy when we go into this meditation later on. And that also leads to, in my view, a sad truth that we only know peace through conflict, through previous wars, like the light cannot exist without the existence of darkness. As I personally worry about all splitting processes taking place in the world, I hope the space in the following meditation is for all of us an entrance to reflect on how we can see that we need both of the spirits to both create our safety and our imaginary capacity to relate to conflict, to relate to pain, to death, to loss, and much more. Quoting Jung again, speak then of sick delusion when the spirit of the depths can no longer stay down and forces a man to speak in tongues instead of in human speech, and makes him believe that he himself is the spirit of the depths. But also speak of sick delusion when the spirit of this time does not leave a man and forces him to see only the surface, to deny the spirit of the depths, and to take himself for the spirit of the times. So the spirit of this time is ungodly, the spirit of the depths is ungodly, balance is godly. And later on, Jung writes, he whose desire turns away from outer things reaches the place of the soul. If he does not find the soul, the horror of emptiness will overcome him, and fear will drive him with a ship lashing time and again in a desperate endeavor and a blind desire for the hollow things of the world. He becomes a fool through his endless desire and forgets the way of his soul, never to find her again. He will run after things and seize hold of them, but he will not find his soul, since he would find her only in himself. End quote of Jung. So it's challenging and even hard, if you consider the consequence, to draw from this, that is that if we find ourselves in pain, in injustice, in situations of death, conflict, hardship, to not want anything else for it than to stop. However, if we put ourselves at risk in that moment to subject ourselves to the spirit of the times that wants concrete outcomes, and with that, it is a desire that can either be fulfilled or not. Our mind becomes fixed on one outcome only, with that losing the soulfulness of our existence, and I think our access to our capacity to respond to that situation with creativity, as the circumstances that we want to change might not be under our influence at all, yet we might attach a lot of meaning to it, to its outcome, even making ourselves dependent on this outcome. But we have no influence over it, mostly. So for our ability to be open, and I think with that to have access to our creativity, vulnerability is a helpful quality. And for us humans, being mammals, to allow ourselves to be vulnerable, we need to feel safe, experience an inner peace. We need to be in homeostasis. This openness allows us to access both our spirits and to have choice and to be able to balance between the two. And judging, I would say, as a quality of the spirit of the times, even when we judge in situations that seem to be so clearly wrong, as a risk of reducing our capacity to observe, to reflect, to take different realities into our perception. And in or after that moment of judging, what would it be like if we could bring in curiosity to ourselves and ask, what might I have been afraid of? What was unclear to me or even unsettling me that I had to judge? As some say, the nature of man is dualistic, so we want to judge. And even if that's true, we might want to practice mindfulness and use our awareness to always keep our perception as open as possible for what we do not know yet, to inquire into for what we took for true and real, for what we held on to understand the world around us. And sometimes, sooner or later, we might find out about different truths and different realities from different perspectives. So they might not match the impressions we held on to until then. So there is a tension here. We need to feel safe to be able to be vulnerable and to limit, to have space for this attitude of inquiry. So if you're more interested to read more about the two spirits, you can also look into Ian McGilchrist's approach to this and read some of his last work, or a little bit more accessible. You could watch some interviews with him online as he tries to connect the left and the right hemisphere in our brain that function differently. So to come back to our openness, so for our openness, it helps if we take care of ourselves, if we take care of our bodies and our emotions and feelings, because then there is a bigger chance we can feel safe. And if we feel safe and experience our inner peace, we are more open for connections with ourselves, with others, with nature, even with our planet. And very important to be able to be in connection with those in need, in distress, who in that moment do not have access to their inner peace. We can be the co-regulator of the other through our presence, which is a core principle of psychotherapy, where, at least for some time, the therapist supports the client to regulate themselves until the client acquires the capacity to self-regulate. So I asked myself the question, what can we do? And one thing in these times, these challenging times, and one thing is to nurture our awareness and give ourselves time to step back, to reflect, to contemplate. Perhaps during a walk in the park, in a forest, alongside a river. Switch off the phone and really feel the soil, the ground under your feet. Another part of reflection is taking the time to sit with oneself and reflect, and perhaps take some notes on which there will be a short piece that will be available separately on the website of the Trust. And I'd like to end this reflection with a fairly known quote, and that is, God, give me the grace to accept with serenity the things that cannot be changed, courage to change the things which should be changed, and the wisdom to distinguish the one from the other. God, give me the strength so I may clearly see. So you can either choose to pause this recording and just have some moments of reflection, perhaps stare out of the window for a bit before you choose to move on to the meditation. If you decide to be in this more formal meditation, Then let's move on to this part now. Before we do that, make a choice to really engage. Are you willfully choosing to participate? And as you've started this recording, you probably have. And it sometimes is interesting to look at what happens if you reaffirm your choice. Yes, I have a choice. I choose to be here and to participate. And know that if you feel uncomfortable at any moment, perhaps experience an overwhelm throughout this meditation, you can just pause the recording. You can come out of the meditation and orient yourself there where you are now. Take a few breaths, have a bit of water, and have a look again if you want to re-engage and continue the meditation, to really choose willfully again. So first take some moments to orient yourself in your room consciously, however familiar the room is that you're sitting in. Just look around and notice perhaps details that normally you would not spend so much attention to. And then take a few breaths and have a look again how you can make yourself comfortable. See if your body wants to stretch, move around, and then settle into your chair or in your cushion, on your couch, wherever you're sitting. Make yourself really comfortable. And let the gravity pull your shoulders down a little bit more. Let your feet rest a little bit heavier on the floor, or whatever position you're in right now. Just settle into the body more and more. You might even want to use your hands to bring more presence to your body. You could touch yourself with your hands by gently stroking your legs, your arms. You might even stroke your face, the rest of your head. Really feel the skin. Literally getting in touch with yourself. And if you feel comfortable, if that helps you, you can close your eyes. Or you can just gaze into nothing specifically, and setting yourself free of visual distractions. And then take 3 more longer breaths. You can count in 5 seconds in and then 6 seconds out. So the out breath is a little bit longer than the in breath. Now take a few moments to reflect on the experience of, as we call it in psychosynthesis, the I, the process of I inside yourself. Connect to the still place inside you that is observing, that is present. It's like a candle that's always burning inside you up until your last breath. You could breathe out this candle. And perhaps use the image of the flame of the candle, if it speaks to you, to stay present. And feel in your body when you connect to this inner silence. Where do you experience that in the body? And there's a choice here, so if you wish, you can also choose an image or a memory of a moment in your life where you felt most safe. So you can choose an image or a memory of feeling safe, And then let that image become clear to you, really connect to it. Notice what feelings are relating to that memory, to that moment in your life, where you felt really safe. And then allow yourself to feel what it feels like to feel safe. And stay with that feeling for some breaths. Really experience it in your body if you have any experience, any sensation. How does your body respond to yourself feeling safe or connecting to a memory of a moment in your life, an image, feeling of safety? And then imagine that with every in-breath you receive new air, new oxygen that feed the cells in your body. Imagine the oxygen spreading through your body and feel what it feels like to receive nurturing, to get in touch with your aliveness. And notice how that might support your experience of your inner peace. And then with the upcoming out-breaths, feel what you want to let go of. Perhaps something that does not support your inner peace. Could be many things. Could be an identification, certain thoughts, perhaps perceptions you hold on to, even though your inner peace is not supported by them. Could be, for example, worry that you have, although you have no influence over the outcome of what you worried about. So if you will be willing to support your inner peace, are you willing to let go? And at this point, notice that if you get in touch with any resistance inside yourself, perhaps you feel powerless or helpless, perhaps sadness comes up, frustration and anger when you reflect on this. Can you invite the resistance in? Can you allow that to be present without necessarily engaging with it too strongly? Just allowing yourself to let everything that is present for you right now just to be there. And to notice what happens if you do that. And then I'd like to invite you to reconnect to the flame of the candle inside you, or the image or feeling that relates to you feeling safe. And I invite in all imagination possible to connect to your inner peace as much as possible. And connect with that to your experience of feeling safe with your whole body. Because it really helps when we feel safe to be available to oneself and to others and to be in connection. And you might want to reflect just a little bit more on what do I need to feel safe. And trust that you know what you need to feel even more safe. And just allow whatever you need to emerge inside you. So you imagine that you can give this to yourself right now to feel even more safe. And then use your inner peace and you yourself feeling safe to engage with this peace meditation. So I'd like to invite you now to expand your inquiry and ask yourself, what do I need to open my heart? What supports me to keep my heart open? What is your way of opening your heart and supporting you to do so? Notice how you can perhaps allow the flow of the heart energy to flow through you and to really make this into a visceral experience. Notice your bodily sensations. And some people might even experience an expansion outside of their bodies, outside of yourself. So however the experience is for you, don't force it, just invite it in. Now notice how you experience this in your body, what feelings come up and what you are aware of. Stay with this and allow the heart energy to flow through you. And what if this heart energy is an endless resource, if only you allow yourself to connect to it? And let's imagine that this resource might be the same places where you came from, and perhaps one day you will be returning to as this life is over for you. We could refer to this as Eros, as our aliveness. And when your mind wanders, drifts away, see how you can gently guide yourself back to the energy of your heart. As it is this heart, your heart, that is alive, that wants to live. It's beating, however the circumstances are, simply as it wants to live, and it supports your aliveness. And it's like the breath, it's a faithful companion in your life. Your heart, the beating of your heart is a reminder of your aliveness. And talking about aliveness, you probably have witnessed in nature, when nature wakes up in spring, how the force of nature cannot be stopped. And nature comes back to life, whatever the circumstances in the world. It wants to live, it wants to grow, it wants to move on. And it invites in other parts of nature to engage with each other. Insects coming alive. It's like us humans, we want to live. And perhaps deep inside, we want to transform and engage with each other most of the times. So imagine how this intrinsic force of nature is always present. Imagine that force vividly inside yourself as well. And realize that we are nature too. So whatever we do, whatever happens, we want to live. And then take some moments to make sure you're still connected to your body. And when you feel grounded enough in your body and connected to your heart, notice how safe you feel right now in your room, in your town, in your country. And hopefully you are in a place where you have privilege just by being born or now living in a part of the world with much privilege. in terms of being really safe, relatively free, not in or under the threat of conflict, of war, of hunger, of loss of your home or your work. Perhaps you can connect to a sense of gratitude of your current situation in life, of those circumstances that support your safety. And even when there might be other issues in your life, like a health situation or relationship issues or other challenging transitions, connect to all that is there that supports your being alive and being safe in this world right now. And if you notice you begin to feel less safe when your mind takes over, thinks of circumstances that make you feel less safe, and reconnect to the flame inside you, or your image, or your feelings that support your inner peace. You feeling safe. And reconnect to your heart and the energy of your heart radiating through and perhaps outside of your body. I'd like to invite you to stay with this practice for a few moments, to really and only connect to your heart's energy, perhaps to your gratitude of you being alive and being safe, and allowing that energy to flow through you, and perhaps even outside of yourself. And perhaps you're willing to think of people physically near you, people or other living beings you live with in your house. Perhaps you want to send them the energy of your heart. And think of the people that live in your street. And see if you can include those people that you do not know, or you might not even be so fond of. All these people have a heart and want to live in peace. And if we imagine that the source of the energy of the heart has no limits, no limitations, doesn't get exempt, it cannot be wasted. We can share this love, as everyone needs love, needs to feel connection, belonging, and safety. So what I'm inviting you in is to allow your energy of the heart to float freely to all living beings near you. And then if you're willing, imagine being able to send the energy of your heart to all people who live in unsafety at this moment. Of course, we can think of those people surviving in war zones in Europe, in Africa, in the Middle East, the Far East, in Asia. everywhere where people might feel unsafe. They might have even been born in unsafety and have lived in unsafety their whole life. Imagine that you let your heart energy flow to them. They can all benefit to be met in the energy of the heart, in peace, the sense of belonging and feeling safe. And what you can do is let it flow, to allow it to emerge inside yourself, to let it radiate. Also imagine that as you're doing this right now, others might be doing this at the same time. So just imagine an even much bigger flow of heart energy reaching all living beings who live in unsafety. And also think of situations where people live in unfree worlds, where there is no system of justice protecting vulnerable people in their human rights, where your gender, mostly as a woman, can be a threat. And also where someone's diverse gender identity and sexual or romantic interests might put their lives at risk even. So include everyone who is unfree to be themselves, to receive your heart energy that emerges from inside yourself, and that flows to all those people into the world where the heart energy is so needed. Of course, you probably will not know most of them, so just think of all people having a heart. All longing to be loved, to feel safe, and to live in peace. And see if you can manage, if you can allow to keep the flow of this heart energy going for those whose liberty has been taken away because of war or under circumstances where they have had no fair trial. People who are surviving in refugee camps, in prisons, labor camps, re-education centers, and who have no way to do justice to themselves. So let's see if the energy of our hearts can reach them too. And each time stay connected to yourself, stay connected to the energy that emerges inside yourself from the heart. From your place of safety. And then bring in mind the people who cannot live according to their heritage, their body or mental ableness, the skin color, the way they look, their belief systems, including their religion. They might be oppressed only because of who they are or where they were born. So can you allow the energy of your heart to flow to all those people we do not know, but we know they exist, and we know they live in unsafety and in hardship. So are you willing to share your inner peace through your heart to those that need it. Let's stay with this process, this flowing of your energy for a few minutes in silence, moving back and forth, connecting to yourself, connecting to your heart energy, and allowing this energy to flow freely to all living beings that benefit from it, wherever they are, all living beings with a heart. And gently notice how you are still connected to your body through your breathing. Noticing your body, however and wherever you're sitting, and the structure of your body is still intact, keeping you upright. And bring your attention back to yourself. And just notice how your body is doing right now at the end of this meditation. And also, how are you feeling right now? Perhaps consciously reconnect once more to your breath and to your heart. Once more. And notice what this experience is like for you right now. And gently bring your attention outside yourself again, back into the room where you're sitting. And if you have the possibility, just stare out of the window to the outside world. At least your attention away from the screen. And just be aware of your presence in the here and now. Thank you for joining me in this meditation, in this short talk before the meditation. I wish you well, and I wish peace for the world. Thank you.